You ready for a good morning? I know I am. Okay. Hi, and welcome to day 5 of the Chronic Pain Solution. Today we are doing all Q&A. So all of your questions, I am going to attempt to answer as many as I can in the next hour. And as I am talking, as always, feel free to drop your questions in the comments section, and I will do my best to answer. I just kind of figured we would go until, I'd answered as many questions as I possibly could. So I'm going to remind you for the first, if this is the first time you're seeing me, my name is Eicher. I am a chronic pain coach and best-selling author, and I help motivated women get back to lives that they love through the use of movement, self-discovery, and education. And that's what I do. And so I am glad that you all are joining me this morning. We have just had a fantastic week of an enormous amount of information, tried to boil down and make it as digestible as possible. And questions always come up after that because how could they not? So I'm just going to does the nervous system cause your nervous? Yes. I'm just going to start with Shannon's question. I have a whole list. There's a list of questions that you guys have sent in, and we're going to cover those. But Shannon says, does the nervous system cause your muscles to be very tight? Yes. So the nervous system also causes your muscles to move. Like when you decide you want to walk, that is your nervous system doing that, and it decides how much tension needs to be through your body to hold you upright and cause you to walk. When we are injured or experiencing pain, the nervous system and brain will splint, guard the area by tightening the muscles around the point of pain, right? So I told you guys I fell in around Thanksgiving, and my shoulder has been hurting an awful lot, and all of the muscles, like right in here, are very tight, guarding my shoulder. So I have been using heat, and last night my partner gave me a little neck massage. He's still learning touch in like a massagey way, but he did a great job. And for a little bit it was loose, and it started out looser this morning, and then as I go through my day and forget that I need to not move my right arm in certain ways for a time, that will get tighter and tighter and tighter, and I will need to continue to do things to ask it to relax as it protects this actual injury. We're not into chronic pain territory yet. So yes, Shannon, your nervous system decides your resting tone of muscle, your active tone of muscle. And when we are in pain, we tend to tighten up and splint that area, and that's called guarding. And that's why we use all of those breathing techniques, and why all the massagey, mushy, and stretching. PTs tend to do a lot of stretching when things are tight. But really what we're trying to do, at the end of the day, what you're trying to do is find something that makes it feel better and enables you to relax. So, did that answer your question? Oh, good. And the cats are going to be tumbling through the room again. So let me know if that starts to annoy you guys, and I will kick them out. Okay. We'll start at the bottom. Okay, so one of our participants said, I keep telling myself that I'm okay, like you suggested the other day. I've been doing that for a while. Why isn't it working? Like, why is she still in pain? Because she keeps telling herself that she's okay. Well, one is, I did say that if you don't actually believe that you're safe, or you don't actually believe that you're okay, your brain is going to reject that, and it's actually going to do more to protect you because it thinks you don't understand. Because all of this pain is coming from subconscious, like unconscious things that are happening, right? You're not consciously creating the pain. Your brain is doing that to protect itself. So if you're telling yourself that you're okay and you're fine, well, that's if you keep telling yourself like, I'm okay, I'm fine, that's not really true. You're not fine. We've been talking all week about how much pain is taken from us. And so if you're saying to yourself all day long, like, this sucks and I can't believe this is happening and I'm still in pain and I've done everything, and like you're you're reiterating your narrative, and then when you hurt, you're telling yourself, I'm okay, I'm fine. That's incongruent. And so the brain does not like things that don't match up. When we say one thing and act in another way, that's called cognitive dissonance. And it means two things are at odds. And the brains don't like that. It causes an enormous amount of stress, an enormous amount of vigilance on the part of our nervous systems because we're not safe. So when you're talking to yourself and trying to reassure yourself, you have to be telling yourself things that are true. Otherwise, you're really feeding into the problem. And in literature, they call that toxic positivity. So we don't want to lie to ourselves. We want to tell the truth. My body is safe. I'm not causing more damage. I'm eventually going to be okay. This hurts now, but it won't hurt forever, right? Those are things that we can say, maybe, but those are other ways that we can say we're okay. So the fact that you're telling yourself you're okay is one of 100 different parts of ways that we calm the nervous system. But usually that singular thing alone, no, that's not going to be enough, especially if you don't believe it. And that's why Moving Beyond Pain is such a comprehensive course, is that, yes, that's a single part of it, but it's like one thousandth of the things that we need to do to get our lives back. So that is probably why it's not working. Okay, are opiates bad? Whew. No, opiates are not bad. Opiates are not bad. There is no medication that is bad in and of itself. The way that we use it, any medication, can be bad. We can abuse or misuse any medication. And I would suggest that opiates are best used post-op for 3 to 5 days, or after acute injury for 3 to 5 days. Because after 3 to 5 days, our bodies become dependent on them, and then that's just a mess of its own things. Hey guys, knock it off. No? Yeah. So opiates are best used for 3 to 5 days, and that's it. For very short periods of time, they're not really great to be on long term unless you're suffering from irretractable cancer pain and or some life-ending experience. Oh my God, the cats are just tumbling in the background. So if your doctor has you on opiates, that's okay. Please understand that they can, after a time, sensitize your nervous system because the signal that you need to be hearing isn't getting through, and that's the pain. And so oftentimes we can become more sensitive to the input that comes in, and that makes our pain greater because the brain is still trying to get our attention. So they are not bad. You are not bad if you use them. Your doctor is not bad if he prescribed them, but they do have a ton of side effects and have been found to not be terribly helpful in long-term chronic pain situations unless it is an end-of-life situation. So, very controversial subject, I know, but that is my answer on are opiates bad? Okay. What kind of things do we do in Moving Beyond Pain if I were to sign up? That's a great question. So the program starts where we explore our stories. We kind of dig through our personal stories and we start to find some things that have been influencing our pain story. We learn a lot of science, like much deeper than we go into in this workshop, so that we have those facts in our head as we start to move and do things. We're going to create a flare plan and kind of learn how to talk to our doctors. What else are we going to do? We're going to learn how to increase movement or weight or distance on any activity that we want to do. And then we're going to spend a month learning how to do that with a one-on-one consult with Rebecca or I to make sure that, we're not overdoing. So we're going to learn how to manage boom bust when we're trying to get back to the things that we love. We're going to do a whole section on the way that we think and how we can change our thinking, how we can adapt. And at that point in the course, we kind of look at maybe do we need some outside counseling? Are we doing okay? Like, how's it going? Right? We're going to stop and reassess that. And then the very last section of the class, we're going to reconnect with important people. We're going to reconnect to important things. We're going to consider volunteering. We're going to figure out what it is that our next step is now that our pain is not running our entire lives. And yes, that takes 6 months. So that's, and we're going to become very good friends, you and me and Rebecca. And I'm going to ask you for Christmas cards and make sure that you stay in touch after the program's over. But the reality is most people stay in touch with me. Like, we stay in touch because we become friends, because we've been in the trenches for 6 months. But you're going to keep updating me on all the amazing things that you're doing now that you've taken the course. So those are the kind of things we're going to do in Moving Beyond Pain. We're going to talk, we're going to experiment, we're going to explore, we're going to get creative, we're going to learn a lot, we're going to share a lot, we're going to get better. We're going to get better. That's what we're going to do. Okay, Pam says, are there things I can do to get more conservative sleep? I've had sleep issues for 30 years roughly. I sleep an average of 4 to 6 hours, and when I'm in more pain, it's more like 3 to 4 hours, and I toss and turn a lot at night. Great question, Pam, and that was on my list. Let me find it. Why can't I sleep? Okay, so what research has told us is we need 6 hours of sleep a night. Otherwise, it's like we're being tortured in like military stuff. So when we sleep for less than 6 hours a night, inflammation goes up, brain function goes down, weight loss is harder, healing is harder because our bodies repair at night. So like, and I'm talking about your liver and your kidneys and just all the things, not just the pain tissues, right? But like our whole bodies do all kinds of insane things at night. It's also where like short-term memory gets processed into long-term memory. So if you're having trouble with memory and you're not sleeping, it's because your brain can't do what it's supposed to do because you're not sleeping for long enough. So those are some problems that occur when we can't sleep for, at least 6 hours at a time. And then Pam says, okay, well, what can I do about that? All right. So the first thing is we want to make sure that there are no sleep problems. So if you have someone that sleeps in bed next to you, make sure that, you're not breathing, sleep apnea, because that will make sleeping very difficult. And it's actually shocking the number of people that find out, hey, I have sleep apnea, they get the CPAP, and all of a sudden sleep is no longer a problem, even though the pain remains. So something to consider if you have not already. And your partner can probably tell you. Teeth grinding because of stress is another thing that tends to disrupt sleep. And so your dentist, next time you go in, just ask if there's any signs of teeth grinding, and then you can get a night guard. And if you're having jaw and facial pain, that will probably also help that. So those are some like biological things that we can fix that may be contributing to poor sleep. Usually it is some version, if it is not those things, it is usually some version of an overactive mind that can't settle down. Things that I have learned when it comes to sleep hygiene are things like caffeine, alcohol, and weed, marijuana, call it whatever you want. But those things can help you fall asleep, but they don't help you get into the deepest part of sleep. They actually prevent it. So that means our sleep cycles are lighter. And throughout the night, we go from like a light sleep to a medium sleep to a deep sleep, and then we repeat those cycles. So usually what's happening when people wake up and they say that they're waking from pain, it's actually that you have woken, you're aware of your pain, and that makes it harder to get back to sleep. So it is rarely the pain that is actually waking you. It's that you're already in the lightest portion of sleep, and you're aware, you are more cognizant of what is happening and what you are experiencing. And then we get focused on the fact that pain just woke us up, and that the pain's so bad it's disrupting our sleep. We start to focus on that, and it becomes harder to get back to sleep. So basic sleep hygiene is, don't have caffeine, alcohol, or marijuana to go to bed unless you haven't been sleeping at all and you need those things to help you get to sleep, but then don't keep using them consistently, right? I think, as I said, I think it was yesterday, but I said, if we can't sleep and we can't poop, the rest of this really doesn't matter. So I don't think it's a terrible thing to go back to your doctor and say, hey, look, in the last 30 days, I haven't slept more than 5 hours a night, and this is not great for my healing. Like, this is not great for my overall health. I was actually very fortunate, and this goes into the health literacy of doctors, but when I went in for my shoulder, the doctor actually asked me, are you sleeping? And I was like, no, I am not, because everything is painful. And he prescribed a muscle relaxant for me to take at bedtime to help me relax. So we don't necessarily need a sleep aid, because sometimes anything that will depress our nervous systems, right? So a sleep aid, an anti-anxiety, antidepressant, and muscle relaxants are all various medications that help kind of lower all the activity of our nervous system, which help us sleep. So oftentimes sleep can be helped by one of those things, just by talking to your doctor. And then it's things like, only use the bed for sleeping and, adult time, if you will. Like, we're not going to, during the day, we're not going to stay in bed. We're only going to use the bed to sleep. So maybe we're going to go downstairs and lay on the couch. We're going to sit in the recliner. We're going to sit someplace else during the day. We're not going to do it in bed. And I think that this really works, but if you can't fall back asleep within 10, 15, 20 minutes, get up and do stuff until you feel tired again, and then go back to bed. And that actually usually helps. Shannon says, this is what's been happening with her. Pam says, I tried sleep meds to get me to sleep and stay asleep, and she takes muscle relaxants at bedtime. And I get, sleep is very challenging because I don't know your individual specific situations. I'm speaking in generalities, but the sleep hygiene is a big one. Pam and Shannon, I will tag you in the sleep blog that I did. I just got to write it down because our sweet Rebecca is not with me today. She had a friend to go visit, so I am missing my secretary. So those are some things that you can do and look at for sleep. The other thing is, we gotta pour off all of the thoughts. Like, for me, it's usually thoughts that are running through my head. Nighttime is a wonderful time for me to ruminate and catastrophize and do all of the things that are really not helpful. So for a long time, I had a counselor that suggested I just journal before bed. Or when my kids were starting to get involved in sports and different things, so we had like school plus me managing my pain plus sports plus, whatever my ex-husband was asking me to do, I would wake up and kind of in a panic in the middle of the night, feeling like I'd forgotten to do something. So I just started keeping a tablet of paper and a pen by my bedside. And if I woke up fearing I was going to miss something or like having a thought in the middle of the night, I would just write it down. And that actually really enabled me to get back to sleep. And then I will also tell you that in this, post-COVID world, if you have had COVID at all and your sleep disruption has started recently, all of the stress from the pandemic and COVID itself can cause sleep problems. So this much stress just globally, because of the economy and the political situation and this crazy virus that we still don't really understand. All of those things can just cause a ton of stress. And that may actually be what's waking you. And if you are a woman that is perimenopausal, this is my last thing on sleep. If you are perimenopausal, your estrogen and your progesterone are fluctuating because you're moving into menopause. And being perimenopausal can also cause enormous sleep issues. So find some of that colored noise, get yourself a Calm app. YouTube has all kinds of like, let's see, I'm all about the YouTube this year. But it's got all kinds of sleep stories and music, and like my kids both listen to Falling Rain. My partner tends to listen to Saturday Night Live. He just puts that on in the background and lets it go and falls asleep to it, and the voices help him sleep. So try some of those things. See if they happen. See if that helps you get to sleep. All right. Sleep. There we have it. Okay. Somebody asked me to discuss what I meant by emotions have chemicals, or emotions are chemicals. And that's a great question too. You guys asked such great questions this week. What do I mean that emotions are chemicals? Because I talked about emotions having a chemical signature on day 3. That, we like when we talk about the pain and the history and like all of the different things that we go through as women experiencing pain, one of the things that we meaning medicine kind of forget is that, when I'm angry, that has chemicals with it. When I'm sad, that has chemicals with it. When I'm happy, that has chemicals with it, right? And all of those chemicals interact with our nervous system. And so they can sensitize it or desensitize it. They can make it happy, they can make it sad. I mean, that's really general. But if I am angry or I am fearful, my nervous system is going to be more ramped up and more aware, because the brain considers those dangerous situations. If I am happy and I am enjoying my life, I've got all the oxytocin and the serotonin and the dopamine and all the good things, and my brain and my gut are bathed in all of these neurotransmitters that are really, really good. And you're feeling good, and the nervous system doesn't need to watch out for as much when we're in those spaces. And I was talking to Adrienne yesterday, and she said, Amy, when I'm on vacation or when I'm with people that I adore, like, I don't have any pain. Yeah. That's why I think the question, how do I get out of pain, isn't the right question. The right question is, how do I get back to doing things that I love and enjoy? Because if we're focused on things we love and enjoy and getting to those things, that's a lot better situation for healing than constantly trying to banish this monster under the bed that is pain. So, yeah. Oh, and then one of the things that I did forget to share, which is another reason why all those medications that I've listed tend to help with chronic pain. I wish that I had known this when I was in pain and I was offered antidepressants, because I was adamant that I wasn't depressed, I was in pain, and that was making me depressed. And that's true. What I didn't know was if we take 4 different people, one that's in pain, one that's addicted to something, one that is depressed, and one that is anxious, and we put them through a functional MRI, which means like it's taking pictures of your brain as your brain is working, right? It's not just a static, well, I mean, it's a static image at the end, but like they can see what your brain is doing in real time. That's why it's called functional. All 4 of those brains, if we were to slap pictures up on the wall, you cannot tell the difference. They all look identical. Anxiety, depression, pain, and addiction look exactly the same on imaging of the brain, the parts of the brain that are most active in those scenarios. That's incredible. You guys, that's incredible. So the next time the rude doctor says, well, I just think you're anxious, or I just think you're depressed, just take the meds. He doesn't need to know. He or she doesn't need to know that our brains are the same for that medicine to be helpful to you. So I know, and you know, that you're depressed and you're anxious because you've been in pain for so long. We're past the point of caring whether the doctors know that or not. If they're calling us anxious, fine. Let them call us anxious. I'm past the point of caring. As long as you're going to give me an ability to try meds that may help me, I no longer care if you understand what I understand, is really where I'm at with medicine. So I say we start a revolution. We turn this whole, like, crazy, anxious, depressed, overweight woman mold that we often get shoved into, and we say, screw it, I'm going to take your medicine because it's going to help me, not because you think I'm anxious or depressed. What do you think about that? Tell me in the comments. You think I'm crazy? Have I lost my mind? Has anybody found that antidepressants or anti-anxiety medications are helpful to them when it comes to their pain? Maybe even as part of your flare plan. Maybe you don't take them all the time, but you take them when you flare. Also helpful for a lot of autoimmune diseases and things like long COVID. Just saying. Okay, so that is why Sandra says, "Amen, sister." Yeah, like it was really it was really a game changer. It was really a game changer. I've shared that as I was going through the divorce, my pain was really lowering, and I did become crazy anxious during that time because nothing was going the way that I anticipated my life going. And my doctor was like, I adore you. I love you. I know we talk all the time. Like, you're really good with the research and I trust you. I'm wondering if you'll trust me and let me put you on an antidepressant for a little bit. And I was like, okay, let's go ahead and do that. And so we did, and one of the fantastic things about medicine is we don't have to keep taking it for a lifetime. We can take it for a time and then try to wean off of it and see how we're feeling without it. You should talk to your doctor about that because none of us should start or stop meds without talking to a doctor. And if your doctor can't help you or is just like, well, just stop, do a little Google search. There's all kinds of great websites out there to figure out drug interaction and things that, doctors prescribe medications, but it's really your pharmacist that should know whether drugs are going to interact or the best way to wean off of them, because there are many drugs that should not be stopped cold turkey. Opiates being one of them, because you will feel like a crazy drug addict. No matter, I took mine for a month after surgery and went into complete and total withdrawal after a month. It was insane. Okay, I'm going to read a little bit here. Sandra said they work great and I feel bad for not taking them earlier. I fought it for so long. I am so in that boat with you. I was like, I am not fucking depressed. I'm in pain. Fix my pain and I won't be depressed. I'm sure some of you can relate. And I did. I fought it for so long. And then when I started taking them and it was actually helping my pain, I was like, son of a bitch. So now I tell everybody, you're not crazy. And your doctor may have no idea why he's prescribing them other than you're presenting as depressed. But, just don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. They help calm the nervous system. And we're looking for any and everything that will calm the nervous system. That's what I'm saying. Okay, over 20 years I've been on meds and off at the time. They didn't. Okay, and Pam, that's totally fair. Pam says for her, they didn't help with the pain. They help with other things, but they haven't helped with the pain. And that is a perfect example of how we can all fall under this umbrella of nervous system involvement, and what works for Sandra and I did not work for Pam, right? So it's important to recognize that a lot of these things we just have to try. And that leads me into another question is well, how long should I try these things? How long do I do something? Like if I want to try an anti-inflammatory diet, if I want to try a new PT, if I want to try a new medication. So I'm going to give you what I give to my clients when we discuss these things in consults. Okay. If it's a new med, I suggest 30 days. Longer if it takes longer for the medicine to build up in your body. That you need to talk to your pharmacist about. How long should I take this before I begin to see changes? I have been on low-dose naltrexone, which is a medication at full dose that's used for opiate addiction. at lower doses is being experimented with for long COVID and autoimmune diseases and things that deal with a lot of inflammation. I had to titrate up. So like the first 2 months, I wasn't even at a functional dose, like a dose that was going to do anything. So if I'd said, well, I'm going to take this for 30 days and see if it helps, I would have missed out on a medication that helps me dramatically with my brain fog and the headaches. So, it wasn't until 3 months in that they really started to work when I was finally able to titrate up to a dosage that was helpful. So talk to your pharmacist about meds. When it comes to a new provider, if it is like a doctor, it's a longer explanation, but I think most people usually have a good feel of whether or not they trust this healthcare professional that you're going to see, once, twice, maybe 3 times a year. And if they can't answer your questions, won't listen to you, whatever is on your list of things that's unacceptable, you don't have to go back. You don't have to have that injection. You don't have to have that surgery just because that single human being said so. So when it comes to surgeries and invasive procedures, I always suggest 2 different providers, if at all possible. So not in the same office, not in the same network, but in separate hospital networks, separate offices, so that you're not getting like groupthink on your case. When it comes to PT, massage therapy, trying a new, I'm going to try trigger point stuff, I'm going to try foam rolling, those kinds of things. I usually say for a new PT, give them 3 sessions. And if they're not listening, if they're hurting you, if they're not helping, 3 is enough to know whether or not that's a good person for you to work with. Don't spend any more money, any more time. Find somebody different. And when it comes to something you're doing yourself, you're going to foam roll, you're going to tape, you're going to try the, green sticky thingy. 3 to 5 minutes. If it's not helping in 3 to 5 minutes, you probably don't need to do it. It's probably not going to help. So some people love foam rolling. I hate foam rolling. I loathe it. Other people love it. I tried it for months, never got better. See, I kind of enjoy cupping. That's a unique feeling. So I kind of like that sometimes. I kind of like Graston sometimes. I don't like it when they bruise. I don't like seeing bruises because that's just a lot of tissue damage that is unnecessary to get the results that they need. So that would change how I respond to a treatment. So 1 visit for those providers that you're only going to see once, twice a year, 3 visits for a PT, and 3 to 5 minutes on something you're going to try yourself. That's how I determine how much time I'm going to take on any given anything anymore, because I am tired of wasting money and going to providers that aren't going to work with me. I'm over it. I'm just done. So that's what I use as my personal benchmarks for things. Feel free to adapt it, but just remember, you don't have to go to a doctor forever. You don't have to go to a PT forever. You do have other choices that you can utilize. That doesn't mean it's not expensive. That doesn't mean it's easy, but there's more damage being done with somebody that won't listen and won't partner with you than somebody that will. How we doing? More questions? Anything on the doctor bit? One of the other questions on the doctor front was, how do I find providers that are chronic pain literate? So admittedly, I gnawed on that for a long time. So one of the best ways is book a 30-minute consult with me. Tell me what your issue is. Tell me where you live. And I will reach out to my network that is global and see if we can find somebody due to the people and the places that I hang out and I learn from. That's probably one of the best ways. There is no universal catalog for providers that are familiar with pain science stuff, which is unfortunate. Um, I think it would depend on what what type of provider I was going to go see. But if I was going to go see like an orthopedic doctor and I didn't just want basic information about whether or not I was like injured, I think I would be asking like, so how much do you know about current neuroscience with chronic pain? Like, have you taken any courses in chronic pain? Like, I'm going to interview and I'm going to be problematic, and because I'm tired of wasting money. So I would probably call the office and ask the front desk, and they're going to be like, oh my God, I have no idea what the hell you're talking about. And be like, that's okay. Talk to the doctor and get back to me. Or if you can send messages through a patient portal because you're already a patient with them, like I would do that. Like, how much do you know about the current science of chronic pain or about pain science? If it's a physical therapist, that's a lot easier. You can just ask, hey, are you current with pain science? And if they look at you like they have no idea what the hell you're talking about, probably not. Probably not. I have in the past said you can drop the names Lorimer Mosley and David Butler, and if they recognize those names, they're at least informed. In the PT world, I don't think doctors are really listening to Lorimer and David at this point, but they should be. Or Adrian Lau, he's another like father of pain science. You could ask them if they're familiar with the biopsychosocial approach to health and chronic pain, and then ask them what they know about that. And if it sounds anything like the things I've been talking about, you're probably a good step up. Yeah, I, yeah, that's what do you guys think? Do you guys have questions or ways that you kind of like screen doctors? Is there something that you do? Um, I know one of the questions that I've started asking a lot is, do you see us as partners in getting me to my health goals? And if they like stutter and kind of pull their heads back and look like they're kind of offended, that's probably not somebody that's well versed in pain science. But yeah, or you can ask, so do you think pain always equals damage? And if they say yes, well, then you know they're not current. Yeah. So those are some of the things that I would try. Most of the time, what I do is if I'm working with somebody that's got a doctor's appointment, or they're going in for something, we're still hunting down some questions that we have. I'm usually much bigger. I'm usually much bigger on helping you navigate the medical system the way that it is, instead of trying to find a unicorn at this point. Most people don't think to screen doctors, but it's funny because we screen people that are going to work on our house. We screen people that are, going to work for us. Like, we do it all the time in other places, but we've still got this idea that like doctors know everything and they're like this magic 8 ball and they're supposed to always get it right because they're doctors. And the reality is they put their pants on just like we do, one leg at a time. And they're just as fallible as the rest of us. Like, Lord knows I don't always get it right. I'm constantly learning new things about how to help people and about what the science says. And, but yeah. And I know Rebecca has started screening doctors, and maybe she will record a little video of her most recent interaction as she was investigating some diagnostic work she wanted done, because that was funny. We were talking about it, and I was wandering through Dollar Tree, Dollar General, whatever it was, looking for Christmas things, and I was so mad that people were staring at me like, what is wrong with that lady on the phone? But yeah, especially in the United States, if especially in the United States, if they're going to treat healthcare as a for-profit industry, well, then sweet Jesus, so am I. I am going to treat doctors like commodities until I get to know them. I'm going to treat PTs the same way, because if all you're going to do is take my money and leave me helpless and hopeless and penniless and needing to almost file bankruptcy, then you can handle a couple irky questions from me before I decide to waste my time and see you. So I guess my perspective on doctors has changed. And I will, some of you were around when I ended up going to the hospital because of my heart stuff post-COVID. And even my partner was like, Amy, that was a little Karen-y. And I was like, yeah, I don't care. If they come in here one more time and tell me I'm too young or I'm too pretty to feel sick, I'm going to strangle somebody. Like, I'm going to strangle. There's going to be violence. I cannot. Like, I don't want my symptoms to be because I'm slightly overweight. I don't want, yeah, and yes, believe it or not, I'm considered slightly overweight, like whatever. I don't want it to be because I'm a woman. I don't want it to be, I mean, I'm not black, but my God, if you're an African American overweight woman, nobody wants to take care of you, and I'm so sorry for that, and that's so wrong, and it's so aggravating, and it makes me want to hurt people. But I just don't take I don't take that stuff from providers anymore. I call them out on it, and I'm just done. And like, freebie, here's your freebie tip. If you are a female and you need to go to a new male doctor, just take a man with you. I don't care if you pull the homeless guy off the corner and be like, look, I will give you $20 if you just come to this doctor's appointment with me and sit in the corner. I kid you not, my kid, my son, he's not really a kid anymore. He's a man, but he's 23. He's been coming to doctor's visits with me on and off for several years now. And I kid you not, they look at him for answers. They will ask a question about my health and then look at my child, my late teen, early 20 child, and ask him questions. I am almost 50. I will be 50 this July. Are you freaking kidding me? So it is true that doctors seem to just take men's words for it over women, and I guess that's just where we're at, and I'm still working on accepting that. Yeah, I don't be rude to your doctors. Like, don't like just be blatantly rude, but you're paying them for a service. You're paying them for answers, and they should be responsible to that. So I don't even set foot in the office if they're not going to listen to you. Like, if they're not going to entertain your questions up front, just don't. Just don't. Don't waste your money. Don't waste your time. Don't waste your hope. Your hope is so precious. And every time we walk into a new doctor's office, we're holding this fragile glass of hope in our hands. And like, I think doctors wasting our hope is way worse than doctors wasting our money. And I don't like that either. So yeah. So that's my rant on doctors. So remember, especially in the United States healthcare system, you are purchasing a service. That person should be willing to talk to you. That's what I'm saying. All right, let's see. I went to cognitive behavioral therapy, and that wasn't enough. Yeah, that's a lot like, I went to PT, or I went to, I keep telling myself I'm okay. Cognitive behavioral therapy is taking a look at what we think and how we think, and then generally our provider telling us it's not great and telling us how to change it. Okay, well, that's fine. However, if you are a person that has experienced trauma, cognitive behavioral therapy is maybe not your best bet. Maybe acceptance and commitment therapy or dialectical behavioral therapy is a better choice, because cognitive behavioral therapy is based on the fact that your thinking is wrong, and that's leading you to make decisions that aren't very helpful. Well, if every doctor I've ever seen has caused me pain or hurt me or not listened to me or dismissed me, and I act in accordance with that, the belief isn't wrong. That is your experience. The behavior just isn't helpful getting you to the goal that you want of wellness. So I think where CBT comes in and kind of fucks with our heads is that you've drawn inappropriate conclusions. You have decided that after this experience, doctors are not helpful and you are not safe there. right? Well, that's a completely reasonable conclusion to draw. It's not a wrong conclusion. It's just leading you to behaviors that are not helpful. So we need to find a different way that doesn't like negate that that discovery or that belief, because the belief isn't wrong based on your experience, right? So we don't need to fix a wrong belief. We need to change the behavior and change how you're going to interact with your doctor next time. And I find that's usually by giving you more confidence as opposed to telling you you're thinking wrong. So that's why sometimes straight up CBT doesn't work, is because again you end up lying to your brain. You're trying to convince yourself that providers are good and they didn't mean to hurt you and this, that, and the other thing, and it's in collision with your experience. So CBT can be very challenging if you have a history of trauma in your past, whether that's complex PTSD. I believe most of us that have been surfing around the medical system for a while do have a version of PTSD or complex PTSD when it comes to relating to this very dysfunctional medical system. So, you gotta, there's nothing wrong with therapy. Therapy is very important for a lot of people, but we gotta know a little bit before we choose who we're gonna see. So that is probably why cognitive behavioral therapy was not as helpful as it could have been, is because it might have been trying to get you to lie to yourself and say that these things that you believe aren't really real when they are. Dottie says she brought an advocate to her doctor and still questions me. I tried to explain, but I can't always remember. Yes, can't always remember. So, Dottie, I'm going to tag you in the doctor posts that I have. But I have a series of like 3 or 4 blog posts that deal with like how do you go through a doctor's appointment and make sure that you remember the things that you wanted to tell them, as well as like how do you get the information that you need out of the doctor's appointment, right? So I will tag you in those, my friend, because not feeling heard by our doctors suck. It sucks. And I often tell people, get in front of the door, get your doctor to look at you, say, I know you need to type notes, but could you please look at me for a moment? Like, I'm very nervous. So I always take the heat back on myself. Like, I'm nervous. It would help me if you look at me. In the past, I have felt unheard by doctors. I know you need to get your notes done. But like, I let them know where I'm nervous now. I let them know where I'm having problems. And if they can't or won't accommodate that, that is not a doctor I'm going to see again. Yep. Lots on doctors. Okay. So the other question was, how do I feel safe going into healthcare visits? We got a lot of owies over healthcare visits, and that's completely understandable. How do you feel safe? You have to know why you're going. So often we go into doctor's appointments and we're like, we just give them everything. Just, I'm in pain, you fix it. And so we have no agency in that appointment. Whatever the doctor says is what's going to happen. Instead of like when I went in with my arm pain, I said, look, I fell, 3-4 weeks ago. The pain has gotten more intense in the last couple weeks. I want to make sure there is nothing broken. I want to make sure that my arm is not broken and I am not ignoring a broken arm. That was what I wanted. I wanted an x-ray. That was the outcome that I wanted. And then if they wanted to do more, I was open to that. But what I wanted from that appointment was an x-ray to make sure that my arm was not broken. So that was what I asked for. I got that, and then we got the x-ray back, and the doctor said, I think it's important for you to go see an orthopedic doctor now. And I said, okay. But I could have also said no. But I went into that appointment knowing what I wanted. And so I think the way that we start feeling safe at doctor's appointments is we know why we're going to them. If we don't know why we're going, how in the world can we feel safe? Like, we have to be smarter consumers of healthcare, no matter what system we're in. So for me, that's like the general answer to how do I feel safe. Know what you're going for. Know what you need, know what you're going for. All right. How do I stop being angry because of my chronic pain, what it's taken from me, and what I've lost? Anybody have an answer for that? How do I not be angry because I'm in pain? And then the other question with that is, how do I accept and not fight my pain and limitations? And I think the answer to those two things is very, very similar. This is the process of acceptance. How do we accept anything? How do we accept that our parents died? How do we accept that our marriage broke up? How do we accept that our pets don't behave appropriately during lives, right? Like, it seems so trite to say, well, you stop fighting it by stop fighting it. Like, how do we accept anything in life that we don't want? I think we just kind of finally surrender to it. Sandra says you focus on your happy bites. I would say yes. Part of the way that we stop being angry is that we accept it. Like, we accept that this is just the situation that we're in. And then instead of focusing on what it's taken, we focus on getting things back. I had the book earlier when I did the, when pain is the only thing that you can see. Of course you may, Rebecca. When pain is the only thing you see, that's the only thing you can focus on. That's the only thing that you're going to think about and deal with and be involved with. But when you start to involve yourself in things that are important to you, well, that's when you're less angry, because now you're not losing as much, right? But I was talking with somebody during a breakthrough call yesterday, and I said, look, we've got to go through the process of being angry first. And Rebecca, I hope you're typing. We got to go through the process of being angry. We've got to grieve. We've got to go through the loss. Like, it's kind of like saying, okay, well, I had this death of a relationship or a friendship or a loved one, or, something has died. You have to grieve that. You have to mourn that. You have to be angry, if that's part of your process, that these things happened. And there's a bunch of ways to deal with the anger. Some people create things. Some people burn things. Some people run shit over with their car. Some people go to axe throwing places or those smash it rooms, right? Some people drive out into the country and scream their full head off, right? You have to find a way to let the anger out. You've got to be able to express it. For me, that was writing a memoir. Writing my memoir was insanely healing to me, because I was finally able to put out into the world for people to see everything that I'd been through regarding my pain journey. And it felt really good, and it was cathartic, and it was healing, and it was almost like I could feel a lot of that anger leaving my body. So, yeah. So you have to find your own way. But part of that process has to be processing through those emotions. We can't just shove them down, because the nervous system will hear you. Okay. I'm going to read Rebecca's answer because I'm sure that it's lovely. I'm going to try to read Rebecca's answer. I lost my mouse under my couch this morning. Okay. Rebecca says, for me, I had to understand that acceptance wasn't resignation. They're not the same thing. I had been fighting the loss of my old life and stopped fighting to reclaim it. It was done. Okay, so you stopped fighting to reclaim your old life and decided to start rebuilding a new life. Yes. Yes. When we are imagining and focusing on the old person, we can't be moving forward, because we're focused backwards. Nothing happens back there. That's history. It's already happened. It is what it is. The only place where you can make change is in the forward. It's in the future. Rebecca says, I understand this is super simplistic and there were tears and griefs and loads of letting go. But essentially, yes, realizing that you cannot move forward as long as you are, as long as you're stuck looking at the past and being angry about the past and all of the things that have happened. You get to be angry. You get to be sad. You get to do all of those things. You get to have those very real emotions. You get to have them, but then we need to move on from them at some point. We have to process them because they are part of what is creating danger within our bodies. So we have to deal with it. How you're going to deal with it is going to be different from me. And that's okay. But we do have to find a way to deal with it. And that is part of what we do in Moving Beyond Pain is I help you figure out what you need to get through your grief, what you need to get through your anger, or whatever, your sorrow or whatever other emotion that you're having. Guilt is pretty common for a lot of people. They feel guilty that they can't be the woman that they used to be. And that's a big thing. There's a lot of guilt and shame that we've got to deal with. And guilt and shame are keeping us stuck. And we got to get free so that we can live and be these amazing people that we're meant to be. Did that answer the question? I know it's a shorter answer, but we got to feel the feelings, and then we need to understand that this is just where we're at, and we're going to build and move forward. And yes, it is okay that requires help. Okay. We are at almost an hour, and I'm gonna take the last question off my paper. If you've got any more questions, put them in the comments now. Can you explain pacing? Sure I can. I will say that every fall I offer a course on pacing so that you can have the Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, summer or winter solstice that you want. And I think it's an incredible class that prepares you for all of those things. And I'm going to put up a survey next week about what short-term class I should be holding next. But I think a class in how to pace your life is really important because nobody teaches us how to do that. And the society that we live in does not teach us to pace and to break things down and all of that. So what is pacing? Pacing is a way of living to create less stress on your mind, your body, and your emotions. Because these are the three basic things that we juggle. Right? So we've got emotional load, we've got mental load, things that we need to think about, and we've got physical load, the amount that we use our bodies. The biggest mistake that people make in pacing is they only pace for the physical, right? So I told you yesterday about the story with talking to my mom on the way to physical therapy, right? And that I would end up all... And that's because talking to my mom was a crazy, insane emotional load at that time. And then I would go try new things at physical therapy that were crazy physical loads. And then I would go home and I would have the running of my household because that was solely my responsibility because I was in a disequitous marital relationship. So the load on my plate on those days was gigantic, and I would end up in all kinds of screaming pain after physical therapy because I had like the heaviest load of my week on physical therapy days because I didn't know any of this. So instead of like calling my mom on a day where I wasn't doing much physical and then not doing a whole lot else when I was going to physical therapy and like trying to come up with a routine or a plan to run my household, like all of those things would have helped spread those things out over time so that it wasn't all happening at once and wasn't all like needing every ounce of everything that I had in my system. So pacing is, the process is really listing out everything that you need to do, right? So you got to go to work. We got to shower every once in a while. We got to keep feeding ourselves. We need to drink water. We need to put away the Christmas decorations, whatever it is, right? So we make the list, and then we prioritize the list, and then we chunk out the list. And the list includes the mental tasks, the emotional burdens that we carry, and the physical things that we need to do. And when you get a well-rounded system that handles those three significant sections of tasks, and you create a life around that, life starts to get a lot easier. But what everybody does is they just go, oh, well, I'm going to work for, what I hear people talk about as pacing is, oh, well, I work 30 minutes and then I rest 30 minutes. And then I work 30 minutes and then I rest 30 minutes. Okay. But that doesn't really account for anything else. Like, that's just time. And physical rest isn't always the thing we need. Sometimes we need creative rest. Sometimes we need mental rest, right? Like, I need to not think. I need to not read another paper. I need to not deal with another question. I need to create instead. And that's when I go out to my garage and I refinish or repaint a piece of furniture, or, make a window project or something that brings me joy. So now I'm doing something physical, but I'm resting my brain. I'm not thinking. I'm painting. That makes me, or I'm sanding. Sanding, that's a delirious process for me that requires no thought at all whatsoever. It's fantastic. Sometimes I need physical rest. And so that's when I can watch my funny otter videos, or I can chat with one of you on Facebook, or, I can engage the mental and emotional, but I'm resting the physical. And I'm still getting things done that I need to do, and I'm not overburdening myself. And I'm not going to boom bust because I'm looking at my week in chunks instead of like this 30 minutes and this 30 minutes. So that is the general feel of pacing. And then on a smaller level, it's like, okay, how do I get from sitting for 15 minutes to sitting for 45 minutes? And then that's really graded exposure or graded exercise, depending on how you want to look at that. And that's a different form of pacing where we're going to take incremental baby jumps. We're going to sit for 4 days at 30 minutes. And then if that goes well and we don't flare up, we're going to sit for 35 minutes for 4 days. And if that doesn't, if that goes well, then we're going to sit for 40 minutes. If at 40 minutes we start to feel pain, well, then the next day we're going to go back down to 35. And then we're going to do 35 for a couple days. And then we're going to go back up to like 37. We're going to split the difference between 35 and 40. We're going to go to 37. And if that's okay, then we're going to do that for a couple days. And if that stays okay, then we're going to take it up to the 40. You see, we're not going to do it all at once. We're not going to run a marathon when we haven't walked to the mailbox, because we will fail and flare every fucking time because our bodies and our tissue are not ready for that. One of the things that always amazes me is, people tell me that they spend most of their day in bed, but then like go to the doctor's office and the grocery store and pick up their glasses and do the things for the kids. And like you spend 8 hours out, and then people can't figure out why they're flaring up. Well, you ran a marathon and you can't walk to the mailbox. I get that it's normal stuff and you were just doing normal things, and I get that. But we can only live at the level that our bodies and our tissue are ready for, right? So if we're laying down all the time, no harm, no foul. I did it for decades. But the issue is our hearts don't have to work as hard when we're laying down because gravity, and our muscles don't have to work as hard because gravity. So like we gotta work on getting some uptime and sitting up and having our legs down so that like our veins and arteries and stuff, like work better and have to fight gravity to push stuff back up to the heart, right? So we have to train to be able to live in our lives if we haven't been able to live in our lives before we're going to be able to go do the big stuff. And there's nothing wrong with that, but I have yet to find a physical therapist or a doctor that breaks that down in a way that makes sense. So if you're having trouble figuring out how to live in your life from where you're at, consider me a resource. Julie, you are very welcome. Mental tasks are an enormous amount of energy, and people don't realize it. And if you've been listening to like TikToks at all, at least it's on part of my algorithm, but women talking about the mental and emotional toll that is taken on them because of an enormous amount that we are expected by society to do. I have heard that the Barbie movie kind of addresses this, and it's on my list of things to watch because I'm very curious about the message that it sends about being a woman. And I've heard the America Ferrero, I've heard her monologue. I'm sorry, I just butchered like her last name, but about what it means to be a woman. Be this, but not too much. Be that, but not this. Be, all of the like opposites that we're supposed to be all at the same time, and we're supposed to end up this perfect little porcelain doll. That's exhausting. It's exhausting. And mental tasks take physical energy to accomplish, like ATP. It takes energy to think. It takes energy to process what I'm saying. It takes energy to be in a conversation. And having had no energy at the beginning of my long COVID and realizing I couldn't have the TV on and carry on a conversation with somebody before I started to not be able to like communicate, taught me just how much mental energy we use during our day and we don't even know it. So yes, 3 parts: mental, emotional, physical. We have to balance them all. Otherwise, it's very difficult to get better. Yeah, so that's what pacing is. And we're at an hour and 8 minutes, and I think the last question I'm going to ask has been asked to me in a variety of different ways, but I think my dear friend Amber asked it best like 3 years ago, and she said, Amy, why is my nervous system so damn dramatic? Because you've been through a lot. Because doctors didn't believe you, because you've done everything that you were supposed to and it still hurts, because you're a type A, because you probably have some, trauma that happened that either you haven't talked about or you haven't processed or you still don't feel safe from, because you don't feel listened to, because you feel invisible, because life is hard as a woman, because you're neurospicy and your cup's smaller, because you're incredibly caring and emotional and the world hurts and you hurt for the people around you, because it's easier for you to take care of others than it is to take care of yourself. If any of these things sound like you, Moving Beyond Pain is the place for you. This group is the place for you. You are in the right place if those things sound familiar. And we can get your nervous system to stop being so dramatic. We can. You guys have been an amazing group this week. I do hope that you will all stay very, very active in this group. I'm going to tell you, this group stays open 365, 24/7. We are always here. There are people from all over the globe inside of this group. So just because you're not in Central Time Zone doesn't mean that somebody won't be on at some point to chat with you if you're feeling sad. Every Monday at 10 o'clock, a blog post will drop in the group, and that will give you something new to read and think about it, and we'll discuss all week. And I am trying to be good about going live weekly, so that we can continue these conversations, we can continue to encourage each other, and then continue to get better. So thank you for coming to the workshop. I hope that you have gotten information this week that is going to just give you your life back, because that is my desire. I understand it's not as simple as that, and I did try to tell you that day one, but you've got a direction to head. If you're not sure what to do next, use that breakthrough call. It's not for me to sell you on Moving Beyond Pain or my services. If you want to talk about those things, we absolutely can, but it's for you to decide your next step. If you're wondering, is Moving Beyond Pain for me? Use that call. Let's talk. It's not for everybody. It's not. For some people, they need other things. They need a different coach. There are other chronic pain coaches out there. You don't have to use me, but use somebody. Do something. Don't stay in pain like this. This is not the life that you were designed to live. So Moving Beyond Pain is open. I will remind you that until right before midnight tonight, there is an early bird bonus. that will give you 4 45-minute sessions with me during that 6 months, a copy of or access to chronic pain flares, the course, and a copy of Stories of Hope, so that when you're starting to lose hope, you can read the stories of others to make sure that you don't lose hope. That is available till the end of day today. There are 8 spots left. I decided to cap it at 10 for this round, and so there are 8 spots left. Remember, you're going to contact me if finances are the only reason that you are scared to do this or to talk to me. If that's the only thing that is in your way, you need to talk to me and let me know. Classroom sessions will be Thursday at 6 p.m. Central Standard Time, so you'll need to adjust for your time zone. And I have decided to give one more day for you guys to fill out the homework for the scholarship draw. I feel like we had a hard time finding day 4, so I'm going to need you to fill out day 1 through 4, and then I will draw the scholarship tomorrow for Moving Beyond Pain. Please remember, if you sign up, that does not mean that you are ineligible. I will still draw. And if you win, you win, because look, we got to do this fairly. So because I feel like it was my fault that homework was hard to find yesterday, I'm going to give you one more day. Fill out days 1, 2, 3, and 4 of your homework assignment, and I will draw the name tomorrow and pop on in a live real quick or in a recorded video that I post and let you know who won the scholarship. If you have questions about other services, consults, small group classes, or one-on-one coaching, just drop me a message, let me know, tag me, tell me you want more information, and I will reach out to you. No, Chris, you and Shannon have already filled out the homework. You don't need to do that, but I talked to several other people that were having trouble. They wanted to fill it out, but they couldn't find it, and I felt really bad about that. I've had some trouble pinning posts in the group this time, so I want to give people another day to have that opportunity if they want. Otherwise, it's going to be a wheel with your and Shannon's names on it, and congratulations to both of you for finding and filling out the homework. But yes, so Moving Beyond Pain is open. It's open till the 17th. Videos will be up until the morning of the 18th if you did not get to see them all. More emails will come from me for about another 4 or 5 days. Go ahead and open those up. There's all kinds of interesting information in them. And after that, they will stop, so you don't worry. You won't get bombarded with emails from me. Those that choose to stay on my mailing list, I email once a week, and then occasionally if I'm running a special on something or something new came out. And that's it. But I do send out a weekly newsletter if you don't unsubscribe from the workshop. All right. If you have more questions, please drop them in the comments or send them to me, as always, because I will continue making video content that answers these questions, because I think it's important. I hope you guys have a beautiful Friday, that if you want snow, you get snow. If you don't want snow, you don't get snow. And that those of you that live in warmer climes are thoroughly enjoying your sunshine, because I'm going to be missing it. And, if you want to share these videos or invite people to this Facebook group that you think would benefit from them, please do so. Please tag your friends. Please share this information with people that you think could benefit from it. I know many of you are in chronic pain support groups for back, neck, TMJ, all kinds of things like that. If you feel that there are people that would be receptive to this information, please share. Invite them in. Let them know that, we got a good thing here. And all I ask is that people be open-minded and respectful, and that, if we post about something that's helped us, that we allow we allow for good discussion, good robust discussion about what research says and about how these things affected us or didn't. And please remember, your nervous system likes things that other people's don't, and that's okay. That's why we have to make these suggestions, because just like if I relied on just things that worked for me, that would be terrible. We don't want that. We want everybody's suggestions. So stay active, stay talking, and care for each other. And I will see you tomorrow.